You're on.
Okay, thank you. Okay, good evening, and welcome to the January 22nd, 2014 Tilton Budget Committee meeting. First thing on our agenda tonight is are the minutes from the meeting of January 15th. This time of year, the paperwork stack gets
Thicker and thicker.
deeper.
This one grammatical. I have one grammatical error.
Sure. Where we at?
On page 2. Right in the middle of the page. It says the reason money is being saved is due to it being done in-house, but if they money is...
The money.
The money, yeah.
The money.
Break the Y.
Yeah.
Did we vote on Winnie Transit?
We did 2 weeks ago.
Was it 2 weeks ago? Because I saw in here we don't have it filled in.
You couldn't come to an agreement.
I thought it passed.
I thought you voted 2,500 to it.
Yeah, I thought we passed it at 1,500 or 2,500.
Let's see, on page 3 of 4 of the minutes of January 8th, let's see. So the motion to fund it at the amount of $2,500 failed.
That was 2 weeks ago, right?
Yeah, the 8th of January.
But last week, there was a motion, in fact, Jane made the motion, and I didn't know who seconded it, but there was a
Passed.
3-2 vote.
That was for funding the Red Cross that we voted on.
I thought we just tidied them all up and we got everything cleared up.
Yeah. Winnie Transit too, because I have it marked in here.
I guess
I
I'll
have
be
mine
watching
marked, too.
movies again. As everyone remembers me.
You did $500 for the Red Cross.
Right.
I have it marked as 2,500 with the check mark.
Well, I will go back through and rewatch the movies, but
Yeah,
I was pretty sure it was voted on several times and nothing was passed.
I think that was 2 weeks ago or 3 weeks ago, because I just sort of remembered that all the outside agencies, we just cleared them all up.
Yeah, and that was January 8th. And then
January 8th?
after that, except for the Red Cross.
What was last week?
Last week was the 15th.
I'm pretty sure it happened last week.
Yeah,
Jane was sick last week, so it would not have been her making the motion.
Because she's the one that made
She's the one that made the motion.
Yeah, and that motion failed.
Well, I know that it passed.
I don't know that it
So we'll
was.
look at the tape on the
Yeah.
8th then.
Yep.
We'll just go back and look at it. If it didn't, it didn't.
because we had a heated discussion
I thought it
after
was-
the camera went off. Not heated discussion, but
Yes.
interesting.
I always have a heated discussion when it comes to seniors.
Everybody's passionate about
Everybody's
which is
passionate about
good.
something, yeah.
Nobody gets forgotten.
I thought it was a draw, like a tie vote,
Interesting.
which means it wouldn't.
But the first time it was, and then
Oh,
they did it again.
did we get a motion to accept the January?
Not yet. Make a motion, we accept the minutes of January 15th as corrected.
There's a motion from Pat, and second from
Oh,
I'll second.
I wasn't here, so.
Stan. Okay, any discussion?
The only discussion I would have is just if we find the tapes, we will just add it to that.
Amend.
And we'll just amend the minutes? Is that what you mean by, yeah. Only discussion I have.
Okay, all those in favor of accepting the minutes from the January 15th, 2014 with the, taking the Y out of page 2?
Aye.
Aye.
I'm abstaining, I wasn't here, so.
Right.
Okay, any opposed? So moved.
Calvin.
Excellent, get that part, let me see. Easy part. I guess the next thing, just will, we could do that in the other. I was going to point out that we do have a couple terms, remind me, a couple terms that are expiring this year. James?
I do. I was a 1 year.
Yeah, and Jane. And, I think we'll, I can stay on,
We going again?
but you're,
I don't know.
I hope you are. If it's easier.
Yeah, oh, I know. It's not, I love doing it. It's just with life and work and it's crazy.
You know, although we meet all year round, some of the summer meetings, you can miss some of those. I'll just hold out a second here. I'd like to add that Jane and Wayne are also members of the school district budget committee, so they are covering both budget committees for the town, so that would be the reason for them running over here real quick and letting me a few minutes late. And this was the meeting minutes, which we accepted as amended. It was just a Y. That was a typo. Okay. All you missed was the minutes. How was school?
Cheat off the papers if you want.
Interesting.
You coming from the school.
Okay. Well, back to that. Next thing we have is so we went over the minutes. We omitted a Y from page 2.
Typo.
Letter Y, typo. There was a little bit of discussion on when we voted on the cap bus and how much, and we reviewed the video last week, see if there was any discussion of it. See the question. The 8th,
Did we
yeah.
voted for 2,500?
Yeah,
Did it pass?
motion failed.
No, it passed.
Passed.
3 for, 1 against, 1 abstention, and 1
Didn't vote,
declined to
period.
vote.
Good.
You abstained,
Catherine abstained.
Catherine declined,
Declined to vote.
you voted against, Eric, Wayne, and I voted for.
So that would be a pass.
Yeah, for 2,500.
Yep.
Because I remember even John said,
It says, motion fails on page 4.
It did not fail.
So we'll have
I mean, I know that's what the votes were.
to clarify that, just, and then we'll amend the minutes as... It's always a... One thing is, we had... One vote yes, and the remaining were no.
For what? Not 2 minutes.
Are those are you reading from the minutes?
Yeah.
Okay. We can just look up at the tape, the video. It's online. We can just
Are
look at
those,
it.
what date are those minutes?
January 8th.
And you accepted those minutes last week. You weren't here, Jane.
Okay, so we'll double check the, and everybody's all set with the, we didn't vote on it last week, so we'll just review the minutes.
January 8th.
Of January, or the video of January 8th, and just clarify that. Okay. That's all you missed.
Okay.
The next thing is, the town budget. I think we spent all season meeting with everybody, familiarizing us with all the different departments, and that we're down to the nitty-gritty. We have to come up with all the numbers this week, and definitely be finished by next week, right? For the public hearing, which is the following week. Moving back. Start out. We have a copy of the budget. Tim sent us a copy that was
I got 4 copies.
proposed budget. So we can go through those.
May I say something?
Sure.
After checking last week, it's my understanding, and Joyce could verify it for me, that the printing, the administrative printing, where we took, where the Budget Committee took out $1,000, that is in fact the town report printing. Am I right?
Now, how did we print it last year with only spending $315?
We printed up fewer to take to town meeting, and then as we needed them, it was set up that we could print them.
We printed them.
As we needed them. So we didn't have any...
Instead of printing them all at once and then storing them and then having leftovers, we printed them as needed. And if it got down to a certain point, we printed 20, and then we had them on, just a few on hand.
Right, like in between voting day and town meeting, we printed more to bring to town meeting.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but it's also done in-house.
We did them in-house.
That way, I'm just done in-house, so you were actually, there were multiple sessions that these were created between the two meeting periods. So you would do just a certain amount. When they went, then you would restart it up. So what that $1,000 was not labor, but it was the actual materials that
Yes.
were being used at this point in time.
The spirals.
So it was materials that were being used or replaced as you were using them.
And this year, we need spirals, correct?
Yep.
Or do we have enough? We need the whip,
Need some.
yep.
My goal is to once again be able to double staple off the copier, because that's the fastest and least costly.
And also refresh me, we found it to be cheaper doing it in-house than it was to send them out.
By
You
far.
want- Tim, why don't you just, we have new people here, why don't you tell them what it costs going outside and what it is inside?
We used to, the last time we printed it outside, it was about, I think it was $4,400 total through Town and Country. And we've been able to bring that cost down to about $1 per book. So depending upon how we print it and how much color is in it. So when they're spiral bound, they're a little bit more expensive, but the spirals are about 9 cents each. But it takes longer to punch them and produce them. But off the copier is by far the least expensive. And even if we print a color cover on a different printer and then combine it and have it run through the copier, we just have a limitation on the number of pages, but provided we can keep to those number of pages like we did last year, it is very inexpensive and nearly unattended, even with the color inserts, the color paged inserts for the budget and warrant.
I guess, one of the questions that I have is, okay, we budgeted $1,500. It says here we spent $314. Where did the rest of the money come from if we actually spent more than that? What line items?
Probably, it could be that some of that was because we used the copier predominantly this last year, because it was at a 100-page size. That was probably as part of our service contract overage. We pay .58 cents for each page. In other words, a little over half a cent per page in overage over a certain quantity. And when we run the town reports, we're doing a very high quantity during a short time period. And it could be that some of that printing cost was tacked onto the service contract and charged to the service contract.
And also some of the color ink cartridges
Right.
would be under office supplies.
Which is now, the color cartridges
Toner.
went to
IT,
IT
supplies.
supplies. They're still in there.
right.
And the copier contracts are under IT service.
So they're still under that service, so we're already budgeting for some of that in the IT department. So why do we need to have it put back into the printing?
Well, we budget for the base contract in the IT line, not overage.
So, last year, we planned on spending $1,500. We got it down to $300 because you did a good technique that saved a lot of money. Wouldn't you do the same technique again to save money again?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
So that would give us almost $700 for the spiral spindles. What justifies the other $500?
Well, we don't know how many pages it's going to be. That adds to the cost. If it goes over so many pages, because then you can't staple them.
Right.
You know, you have to use the spirals. So,
And
you
if
know,
there's color photographs.
yes, if we put color in there, that adds to the cost. And so until we get our report all laid out and run it through once to see what we're going to end up with, we don't know. Last year, we lucked out. We were able to, you know, reduce it down and keep it at 100 pages so that it could be stapled.
We use specific bond paper so that
Right.
it can run on certain things. But that line, correct me if I'm wrong, Joyce, I believe we've also in the past done other printings from that line, special.
We do, but like the recycling printing that we did, we charged the recycling.
We did do that, yeah.
If we didn't have a recycling line item, it would have come out of that printing budget.
So the two unknowns with the printing is the number of pages and the number of reports, actual reports that are going to be needed for the town meeting. That has been known to fluctuate
Yes.
from year to year, from people picking them up or not picking them up. So this amount here, is that an abnormality in that it's lesser than it usually is over a period of time?
Well, I think it's a lot less than what it was.
Last year was a lot less because we did them as needed. The years before that, we did all of them before town meetings, so we just had them. And we kept them and stored them on hand.
And the reason is because when they're over 100 pages, it takes much longer, there's much greater lead time to be able to produce them. As opposed to if you run them off of one machine, the first book takes about 7 minutes, every subsequent book takes about a little over 3 minutes to run. So, whereas if you're printing it, compiling it, punching it, and putting it on a spiral, that whole process is much longer. So you've got all this compilation and much more labor intensive. So you have to build many more of them ahead of time, anticipating the demand, because you can't just, 20 people walk in that day, say, well, gosh, give us 3 or 4 hours and come back. You've got to have a supply on hand. So in prior years, we've produced more of those sets when they've been larger. It really depends a lot on the size.
I think also all the compiling of it and putting it together is all volunteer time, too.
Yes, it is.
And so the additional money in that line item is sort of a buffer in case there is an increase in either the number of town reports that are needed or the number of pages. The money's there, so you won't have to pull from another line item to replace that money.
What you took out left not a lot of room for anything in there, for any, getting spirals or anything that we need this year. That's
And
my
a master.
That is my reason for bringing it back up again.
Not only that, but we're going to be printing our in-house, our master plans this year. Well, of course, I guess that would come out of planning.
We budgeted for that, right? Master plan update.
Not the update,
Yeah.
that wouldn't be the printing. But that comes out of planning board anyway,
Yeah.
the printing portion of it.
If somebody can make a motion, I just want to remind everybody, we're looking at, 4.9% increase in the budget. We're looking at the school district, the government increase,
8.6.
8.6, okay? We're looking at the fire district that's going to have an increase.
About 4.5.
And, what is it?
4.5.
4.5, and we're also looking at, we don't have the final numbers from the police department, which brings us up to a increase in taxes that's, I've never seen in this town.
Well, John, keep in mind that of the town's increase, we should see a corresponding decrease by the amount of the fire dispatch that is now borne in the town budget. So that we should be seeing our county tax go down by the same amount.
A little, not by the same amount.
Well-
They actually, because they had extra money now, they actually
spent it.
spent extra money.
Right.
So it might go down, it's not gonna go down
Theoretically,
proportionally.
it is
the
just
tough part.
shifting, yeah,
Yeah.
right.
So,
Have you got notice of what it was, or no?
What, for county? No.
Okay.
and, you know, I'm not trying to be in Colga or anything here. I'm just very conscious of, because it's going to be a huge increase, and anything we can do to save money, if it means not using spirals, using lighter bond paper, and saving $500, or you can call me, I'll help.
Electronic copies or...
Electronic copies, anything available for people.
I think we also have a pretty generous miscellaneous budget. So if, like, some items will go over, postage went over 180% last year. I think if it did go over a percentage, wouldn't there be possibilities of getting it from a different area, or, you know, miscellaneous expenses last year were budgeted for $2,000. We were close to $4,000. That was
We're required by law to do a town report. So
Right.
if we go over in the printing of the town report, we're going to have to take it from somewhere.
Right.
If the budget's not there, but, I mean, I get what John is saying, that we really need to hold strap to it because the school and the fire and everybody else is going up, but, you know, look at what we've done in the last 5 or 6 years on our budget. I think we've really held the line really tight. Take away monies that you know you're going to spend on a town report that's by law has to be printed out there.
right, but we
We'll
don't...
take it from another place if we have to.
I'm game for even a black and white whole report, put right onto the town to save money in this tax year. We've printed this one black and white this year.
Pat, is the town investigating doing the town report online, or any part of it online?
We do.
Maybe Tim can...
We do online already, but there are several people that don't have computers, too.
Right. But
You have to have a printed copy, and there's a lot of people that want a printed copy.
In fact, we have 20 years of town reports
Online.
So, but each year, the new report, as soon as it's ready to be printed in-house, it's posted on the...
Online.
So that people could download it.
And that's on the website?
Yep.
Yep. Yep.
So that's the number. If anybody wants to make a motion to amend or change that, we probably know where everybody feels.
Mr. Chair, I would make a motion that we return the light item back to $1,500.
I'll second that.
We have a motion from Wayne to change it to $1,500. And that's the administrative printing. And we have a second from Jane. Any other discussion on that? Okay. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Nay.
Voted yes.
Passes $1,500.
$1,500.
Is everybody all set with, let's say, so we can clear up some of these line items? Let's look at everything through, I think it's all that, on the same page, through line item 4150, 7500. Are there any more changes than anybody would like to make a motion for those items? To accept the selectmen's recommended budget for those line items?
Yes.
Which is 4130, 10, 130 through 4150, 7500.
Other than the ones that we amended.
Other than the ones that have been amended by previous motions.
You can just go the total budget minus 1,500.
I want to make sure everybody has the opportunity to speak out about any.
No, I'm talking about the admin budget.
We're just doing the page.
Oh,
We have a
okay.
motion to do that section, and...
I'll second the motion.
From Stan. Any discussion on that? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? So moved.
May I just ask a question? So the only one then that was changed was the miscellaneous expenditure line?
Correct.
$1,000, okay. Everything else is the selectmen's recommended?
Correct, yeah. Okay. If we want to look at, we're looking on account number 4150-99-510, which is tax map update through 4299-99-000, Lake Region Mutual Fire Aid. Anybody want to make a motion or on any of those items to change them or that? Anybody want to make a motion to accept all those items as
So moved.
recommended by
Seconded.
the selectmen?
That with the exception of the amendment to the $1,500.
No, that's we're on
That's
page
okay,
2 now.
so
Yep.
we'll get vote.
Pass this down to,
I got it, so.
because this has got the budget in the back.
Okay, so we have a motion from Wayne and a second from Stan to,
From
Jane.
Jane, but...
From Jane?
No, it matters.
Doesn't matter.
any discussion
My
on
mouth.
that?
She's gonna stick me with her pink pen.
No discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? None. So moved. Okay, we take a look at town clerk tax collector in its entirety.
Yep.
Just to refresh everyone's memories, I believe the raises and the reasons why office supplies and election preparation was the extra election this year.
Which was held yesterday.
One of them.
One of them, yes, the primary.
How many people showed up?
I did.
We had a
83.
poll, how many?
83.
I said 52 would be the max. That's good turnout. For
So-
it was. I lost.
So the office supplies went up $1,400 for one election?
No, not just one election. We have several elections. We have 4 elections this year, right?
What's the third one?
In the fall, we have the state and national primary.
Forgot about that one.
So it's printing of all of the
Yep.
ballots and stuff.
I forgot about that one.
I do have to say that it was an original ballot yesterday, at least from the Democrats.
I know. It took me a long time to make a decision. I was in there a long time.
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion that we accept the selectmen's recommended budgets for Articles 4144.30130 through 4140.99590.
Could you repeat that? I second it. I
We
second
have a
that.
motion from Wayne to accept the town clerk tax collector budget lines, as he stated, And a second from Jane. Any more discussion on that? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? So moved. Okay. We go down to finance. It's a pretty short one. Anybody have any questions or motions that they'd like to make on any of the individual line items?
For the whole of finance, or just those three?
Let's go for the whole finance.
Okay.
Take a look at that.
I had one question. We had a discussion last week about late fees and Tim's diligence of not having late fees. Don't you, we should put a $1 to keep that line item open just in case?
I hate printing that line. Gosh, I hate that line. But,
Just to keep it open?
yeah, I know.
You know?
Yeah, because you actually could not pay any late fees. If there was.
Well,
You don't
I'll
have
give you
one?
an example. In the highway department, they have, they sometimes bring in equipment where there's freight associated with it. There's a freight cost on top of it. And I have this discussion with Dennis all the time, because he has a postage line, and he considers that postage. And I say, no, that's part of the cost of what you're bringing in. You know, that, whatever that part was, costs that amount to get to your door, as opposed to buying it down the street for maybe more money, but less freight or something. So it's that kind of thing. You know, we work very hard to keep it nil, and there are times when we really have to jump through hoops to make sure that that happens, or negotiate it out if there is something, and that happens occasionally. But
I was suggesting it to do you the favor. If you don't want the favor,
My money's on him negotiating it out.
Let's say there was a late fee, where would it come from if you're not budgeting?
it would.
Call me.
It would have to be the expense line of, you know, where the thing was purchased, because it would, you know, it would be something like that.
The other thing that's nice is when we do put one, then next year you put it in there, it shows that zero, you know, it shows off that you're doing a great job with that.
I just hate printing lines we don't, I sort of look at like we don't really need, you know, it's a line, it's like the emergency management line, you gotta have them, but it's an extra line. Every line is an extra piece, you know, toner on every report, on every, you know, that's how I think.
Saving
So,
money on.
I mean, it doesn't make much difference.
.0002 cents that he's saving on not having.
You just take the late fees out of the finance director's salary?
I think he just sees line
My money's on him
999 as an insult
negotiating
to
it
even
out.
have in there. But that's why I just brought it up for discussion. I won't go forward if,
Mr. Chairman, since I'm in a motion-making mood tonight, I believe I would make a motion that we accept the Selectmen's recommended budget for items 4150.10130, all the way through to 472399998.
I second that.
Wait a minute,
Well, we.
you gotta go back to,
I go back to
Yeah,
rather than that.
413-30130.
I thought I was doing
We almost
so well.
eliminated the budget committee.
Thanks a lot. Finance director.
Let me make an amendment to that.
Save $21,000.
I'll vote for that.
Okay. I make a motion that we accept the Selectmen's recommended budget for item 4130.30130 through 4723.99998.
Okay, we have a motion to accept the line items
Second
as
it.
stated, and a second from Jane. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? So moved. Excellent. The information technology, we can take a look at those. Their entirety, if anybody has any questions or anything. I have a question. Out of all of the, presently we have a police detail revolving fund, which we can take some of that out of the way that the police revolving fund is written presently. How much of any of these line items could be taken out of the revolving detail fund
There-
that are here?
In hardware, there's that recording device for the radio traffic and telephone emergency line. That was $6,000. That's probably the type of thing that, might be appropriate for that. Otherwise, most everything else is smaller items for there, and as part of our work with Metrocast right now, there's trying to see if we can incorporate the cabling at the police department as part of a project that we're looking at through their grant with our new consortium agreement. So that we'll probably know, I would think, very soon, within 2 or 3 weeks. But otherwise, to answer your question, I would think that recording device would be.
The communications line, does that include any, like, radios or anything for the a new cruiser, if we were to buy a new cruiser?
No.
Or any of those line items include any equipment that would be installed in any vehicle purchases?
No, not here. The police department has, when they've moved equipment from one cruiser to another, particularly with the Crown Vics, it was easy to move a cage, move a light bar, that sort of thing. They don't come across one-to-one anymore to the new police interceptors, but in the past, sometimes there had been some money spent out of either maintenance and repair or communications line having to do with the radios when radio service was required. And usually it pertained to the movement of parts. But by and large, I would say, 99+% of any new cruiser being outfitted was paid for either from the equipment purchase line or from the special detail fund.
Just so everybody knows where I'm going with this, you probably know where I'm going with it.
I'm waiting to talk.
My thoughts are that, seeing as we bought new cruisers last year, year before, and we had a plan that we weren't supposed to, and we are also have planned next year to buy another cruiser, that we should put these amounts also in the detail fund and use the money that can be accumulated from the detail fund specifically for the things that are going towards, especially where they are for things that are related to a police cruiser, and that we could do it. And that will save us some money off of our operating budget.
I thought you said there wasn't anything in here.
There isn't. Not in the IT budget.
Oh, what was the $6,000?
The $6,000 he's referring to for that
Recorder. The
Recorder.
radio recorder and emergency telephone line recorder that would sit in dispatch.
Right.
Would record the 911 calls, that sort of thing.
And that would be under the equipment, general equipment, that's covered now under the detail fund?
Well, the way that warrant article is worded and how it passed, I believe that it's non-specific to cruisers in the amendment. So, it's for police equipment.
So now this
But-
all works in with, like, what you guys were talking about for
Right, but,
cleaning that up.
for the sake of we're going to, as far as the warrant article is concerned, that there was a discrepancy, and we found that in the DRA copy, that it was the correct copy that went to DRA in that warrant article. John still has the incorrect copy. That doesn't say police equipment. But get back to what John is speaking about, taking, the communications equipment and paying for it out of the detail. When you do that, you're pushing away from the cruisers. When you push away from the cruisers, you're getting back into the same situation we did a few years ago when they purchased vehicles all at once. There were 3 vehicles that they purchased, the 6A, B, and C. And they've all reached their 100 30,000 miles all at the same time. And there was a huge discussion a few years ago in the Budget Committee, and Tony Blair was instrumental in the change in the chief's plan, and recommended that we go for a vehicle each year. It was Scott Davis and Tony Blair that had brought it up in the Budget Committee. And since then, he's put in for a cruiser a year and switching them out, because we still have two of the 6A. We still have the 6A is now non-functioning, but we have the 6B and the 6C. And the 10A has 100,000 on it right now as well. So if you put off, you're delaying the inevitable, because then the next year we need two instead of one. Or if you put it off again and buy something out of the detail fund that should be out of the operating expense, we take half. He's been trying to do this with half out of the operating expense and half out of the detail fund in the last couple of years where the detail fund has been low. So I'm not for it. I would much rather have it out of the operating expense and do the cruises, because I've seen the use the cruiser has. And, you know, next year, do we get two? And that's a greater expense. If we keep a consistent level and we're replacing it on a consistent basis, as he has in his plan, then the plan that John showed us a couple of weeks ago was changed. You have a new one in front of you that he emailed me, which goes to 2019. So
Maybe I'm confused, because he said that the new plan is for 1 a year, but this year he bought two, and last year he bought two, right?
And get you one.
this year he bought one, and the Drug Task Force got
Yeah, we
one.
got the other cruiser.
Right.
I thought we purchased two this year.
Last year we bought two,
We bought two last year, one this year.
because we bought one with encumbered funds, right?
We took delivery.
We took delivery of it, with encumbered funds.
13. Yeah.
Right.
Oh, okay, so we got two this year, but was encumbered funds from the previous year?
No, that was
I believe
2 years ago, 2013,
we,
2012,
at the end of 12, we encumbered funds for delivery of a
2013.
13. And we received that one, purchased one, and then that final, that other one.
So during 2013, we put two new vehicles, two new cruisers online, right? Whether not when we paid for it, but when we put them online, right?
And one came from the budget, and the other one came from encumbered funds within the budget.
Well, there were three.
We've actually budgeted for.
So I'm correct saying that in 2013, we put two new police cruisers
Cruisers, yeah.
online. Okay, and then 2012, that's when we bought the first two. We have a total of 4 cruisers that are the new one.
We have
2012.
We have 3 police interceptors. 2 are marked and 1 is unmarked.
Right, one we bought in 2012, and then,
One we took delivery of in 13, but was paid for out of 12 funds.
right,
And then we purchased the unmarked in 13, and then the police department was able to acquire a vehicle in 13.
So if we're doing the one vehicle per year plan, we're actually one ahead right now. Because we put a new one online in 2012, we put 2 online in 2013. And what my thoughts are, in getting back to the IT thing, is if we can defer some of this hardware, let's say the $6,000 from the
recording.
the recording, and put that into the detail fund, and then if there's enough money in the detail fund on top of that, we can still get the cruiser.
The only way the detail fund can accept money is through detail invoices, if I'm not
Exactly,
correct.
yeah. If there's enough money from details, we can use that money towards the cruiser. But the $6,000 from the hardware will have to come out of the money that's earned from the detail fund. So, does that make sense before?
I don't follow you.
Okay.
don't either.
Instead of paying for that $6,000 worth of equipment out of the hardware fund, take that out of there, and then, when we earn enough in the detail fund during 2014, we can use some of that towards this $6,000. So we can still get what we wanted, the $6,000 recording equipment, but unless we make enough in the detail fund or have enough left over in our operating budget under the, however we pulled money out last year to do it, then we'd be able to get the, an additional cruiser next year. So it's not saying don't get a cruiser next year, it's saying, let's see if we got enough. What I'm going to do, if everybody understands that.
I think it's questionable whether or not it's okay to take that out for that recorder.
Right now, I think at the end of 13, we had a balance of $14,600 in the special detail fund. Right now, half of a cruiser is slated to come out of that, and half of the cruiser from the police department's equipment purchase line. I believe it was 12.5 budgeted in both, or slated for both. So that would probably make it very difficult to accomplish both, I would think, out of the detail fund. But it
That's why I
depends- it
said we'd
depends on
have to pull it
activity.
out of whatever is saved in the other line items in the police, and we'll be going over the police department fund.
But in order to do that, John, in order to do that, to get a cruiser, you have to submit to Ford now that you're going to get a cruiser. There's a certain deadline that you have to submit by in the beginning of the year, or you're not going to get a cruiser in that year.
It's the end of February, and in fact, Ford's already announced a price increase of 3% on the police interceptors.
So if you,
How did we get the other 3 vehicles after February, when we didn't even know we had money for it then? We didn't have grants coming in.
Well, I don't know about the prior year deadlines, but for this year...
this year,
that's
there's a
what-
deadline.
If you, in order to get the current pricing
February
and to be
28th.
assured of getting, I think it's I can't remember if it's a 13 or 14.
It's a 14.
14, at the current pricing, you've got to order by the end of February,
Or it's a 3% increase.
3% increase, yeah.
I might even plan ahead for getting one earlier in 2015. But I'm just going to make that motion, and then, 'cause I think everybody understands, but my motion was to amend the hardware line, the
340?
line 340, to be, that'd be $7,263. That's my motion,
$7,000.
$263 is as a recommended budget. Anybody can amend that if they want to, if they have a different number. I have a motion to recommend the hardware line item 4150-340 at $7,263.
You're bringing it to the 7,000 number, or you're reducing it by 7,000?
Bringing it to the
To-
$7,263,
He's reducing it by 6,000.
reducing it by 6,000. I'll second that motion.
So we have the motion and the second. Any more discussion or confusion?
No, 2 points. I was looking at the weekly cruiser maintenance list. You have 6A, B, and C, which have over 100, well, at least two of them have over 115,000. 6C, they can't read the odometer at this point in time.
Right,
So how, do you know approximately how many miles are on that?
just about the 130.
130, so there's actually two cars that are close to 130.
There's 3 cars close to 100. 6A is not, we cannot, the SRO is, that's the one the SRO is taking back and forth to school
Okay.
because it needs a part and it's not cost-effective to get the part.
The second question I have is, I don't see the maintenance program, but my understanding is the idea is to replace it one cruiser a year until they're up to speed. The third question I have is with the revolving detail fund, what monies can and cannot be taken out of that fund at this point in time? Is it just cruiser related that fund can be used for? Or are there other items that fund can be used for?
My understanding is that the intent of the article is for cruiser-related equipment, police equipment that goes into the cruises, things that need to be done. That's the only thing that's been taken out of there, in the cruiser-related. You can correct me if I'm wrong.
That's all we've taken.
That's all that's been taken out. That was the intent of the revolving fund, was that
And
to...
not to buy cruisers out of it.
Cruises cruises, the detail fund is for the cruiser.
And the cruiser equipment.
And the cruiser equipment.
Okay.
Right, but it's not to buy something at the PD, a computer at the PD because it's police equipment.
Okay,
It's not to buy a new copier at the PD because it's police equipment.
okay.
It can't be that.
All
It
right.
has to be specific to the cruiser-related detail fund.
My next,
That's my understanding.
I understand there's one cruiser that probably won't pass inspection, is that correct?
The 6A.
So all the IT stuff that is actually attached to the police building is part of the operating budget.
For the IT
Yeah.
department.
Right. So taking it from the IT and not having that equipment for dispatch has nothing to do with the
I
detail.
misunderstand something. The $6,000 that I discussed was for what specifically? It's to download the
House fire,
camera videos from...
North Windy
No,
Road.
it records live radio traffic between the cruisers and dispatch, as well as the emergency phone line for anyone calling in with an emergency to the PD. So,
It's kind of a fine line. Is it, a portion of it's used for cruisers, but it's also used for the dispatcher?
If I remember correctly, when we were talking, I think it was Tim who was talking about it, or it might have been the chief. This was the equipment where, like when you see on the news, you get a
Exactly.
copy of the call from the person,
You hear that
oh,
one
come to
call.
my house.
yep.
And it wasn't it one where it was, the FBI or somebody was like amazed that we didn't have that yet?
correct, yeah.
My question to you is, and that's why I'd be reluctant to pull that out, because it seems like we're making strides on getting IT up, and it's costing us a lot to get modernized with IT. After this budget, what do you see left for the police department for the following year? Do you think we'll be, at that point, just keeping up?
I certainly hope so. I would hope that our costs are going to be less with the replacement of equipment and more just the, dealing with the ongoing maintenance and issues that they might have. The one thing I can see that we may have some equipment costs on is, if all goes well with MetroCast, we'll have a fiber connection between the two buildings. And there'll be some additional costs in building that out to our existing networks. Not, exorbitant costs, but there will be some cost to that. But the advantage then is we're able to share resources because we'll be on one physical network, if you will, and we'll be able to have greater bandwidth, more sharing of network resources, so we don't have to have duplication of things at both locations. There should be some real savings to that as well. So, to answer your question, I would think it would go down. Now, the software, the majority of the software licenses, that's not likely to go down. And the communications, until we make some kind of big change or change carriers, something like that, that's unlikely to change dramatically either. And then once the cabling is done at the PD, that should come out of the services piece. So we won't have that recurring.
Yeah, but we,
And
I don't want to get too far off,
Yep.
but
Well, that's the last point I'd make in my discussion of this, is I applaud your attempts to do it. It just seems like we're so close.
And I'll just say, my intention is not to
Yeah.
drive anything,
Yeah.
to try and get the bottom line down here on this budget. Any more discussion? All those in favor of amending that line to read $7,263, say aye. Aye. Opposed?
No,
So moved, not moved.
both failed.
Failed. Make a motion on the whole.
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion that we accept the selectmen's recommended budget for items 4150.10130 through 415-70300.
I second that.
Okay, so we have a motion and a second on the line items as stated by Wayne. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? So moved. We're done with that. Next one, what conquer the whole land use? That, we take a look. I had something on here.
Fully engulfed. Goodwin?
Now, the land use assistant is leaving when?
As soon as we get a replacement.
Oh, soon.
And the oh no, we've got applications that, the application process ends the 23rd, and we have, 9 or 10
Tomorrow?
applications, yep. Yep,
That salary could be in line with what you're gonna be hiring someone?
experience, yep.
Having heard that, that we've got a good number of applications, and that if we're starting somebody new, even if they have experience, have experience with our town, starting them new at a higher rate than that, is there any money that we could save, in salary by reducing that to like the 27,000, start somebody in at 27,000? Do we have to start somebody in at the same rate as somebody that has, how many years' experience?
We're going according to what their experience is. We had agreed that it would be starting what we would normally do with the starting salary for an employee for the town, depending on the experience this person has. So it might be considerable less than what she's making now.
So the amount that you're giving us is the actual maximum limit that you'll be able to offer someone with the best qualifications.
I would say.
Though keep in mind that you're gonna have 4 weeks of her current salary against that $28,000.
Yeah, but I'm just saying that, so you're budgeting
Right.
as if you got the #1 top quality person, and then you go from that point?
Well,
Actually,
it was
I paid
budgeted,
this
it was
month.
budgeted at
32.
$18.01 an hour in this budget.
Right.
Right, but we did increase the hours to 32?
That's correct.
We did, okay.
So we're looking at 32 hours at $18 an hour?
I'm sorry, 30.
town pay weekly or
30?
bi-weekly?
From this
Is it town pay
budget.
weekly or bi-weekly?
Okay, because we advertised at 32.
There's actually 5 pay periods in this month,
Up to 30 hours.
if you pay on Friday.
That keeps you under benefits?
She'll be here all month.
No,
Or the
well,
end of
yeah,
February.
35, less than 35 is
Yeah.
We looked at an average of the hours that she's working and work that still needs to be done. Well, we'd originally had the position at 25 to 28 hours, and it just wasn't enough hours.
Do you have any policy, like when you start somebody that, like start them in at one rate, and if they 90-day trial type thing, and if everything goes good and they are up to par, equal with this other person that's leaving, that then they can be at, the higher rate?
Well, when we've started, and the last couple of employees that we've started them at a bottom wage and reviewed it in a year. That's what we've done. That was deputy town clerk tax collector, and that was highway. So we brought them in, and then they didn't get an increase till the following year.
So they have the opportunity to show that they can
Right,
get up to speed.
right. I mean, how would you determine that? I mean, then when it came around to the merit, that's when we made the assessment whether or not they, yay or nay, whether they were proficient or not in their position, and
Will there be a period of time where she's training her replacement at all? Or
Yes.
is she gonna be done on day X, and then the next day
No.
the new person
she'll
comes in?
be training.
Staying your train.
So there'll be a period of
Right.
a couple of weeks where we have
Sandy and Gus,
two salaries out of that one
Right.
position.
Sandy and Gus will be training.
Now, if you have somebody, you're talking experience level. What if you have someone who's coming from being in the land use office in another town and has a degree in planning? That's both experience and education. Would that play into it at all?
As far as salary as far as their pay, but the town can only afford so much.
Okay.
I mean,
No, I know that, but you would start...
that position only pays so much.
But you would start that person at the top.
I wouldn't start that person at $15, no.
Okay.
But I wouldn't, I personally, I can only speak to myself personally, I wouldn't start them at $15 if they were a planner, experienced in the job. I would
Not hire
probably,
somebody that's overqualified, too.
right. I mean, I wouldn't want to shortchange the town to have that kind of experience here as well, but I wouldn't go over the 18 that we're getting now.
Okay.
This person would go into the merit pool system?
Yes, they all, as an employee, yes.
So he or she, after a year, would be entitled to the merit raise, and then every year afterwards, if so learned,
That's correct.
that would be there wouldn't be a step, it'd actually be the merit system.
Right, we don't have steps here, right.
Is the merit amount already worked into this?
And the merits are in the
Separate
A
line.
separate line.
separate
Yeah,
line,
But it's under the merit,
under
under there,
admin.
that the amount for this, because I noticed...
No, it's up in the merit under admin, it's not there.
But did you account for that, take the whole total salaries?
Right.
'Cause I went through a bunch of the raises.
Well, we did
And it came up
because,
to
right, once we did, because when we did the budget, we had that worked in anyway, and then we found out she was retiring.
That's correct.
So, yes.
But how much is
It's,
much of a difference?
Um,
I think the merit's about 1.5% of the total.
We planned for 2.5, up to 2.5%, but some people don't get it, but it's 2.5, we planned that position 2.5%. So what's 2.5% of his salary, Tim? I mean, aren't we lucky to have Tim tonight?
We're lucky.
And Joyce. I mean, how lucky can we be?
This isn't easy.
Can't seem to...
It's not much at all.
not a significant amount.
Hundreds of dollars.
It would not affect this at this point, because this is a base salary to start with. We'd have to, the merit...
Right, and if we,
Budget cycle.
right, it would be, if we had somebody come in February, we wouldn't be giving them a raise in July.
Right, so that would, what we're really
Right.
talking about is, there's no merit raise involved in this until next budget cycle.
Right. Exactly.
Thanks for
Therefore,
helping out.
I make a motion then to accept, wait, do you want to look at any other, it goes over through, do you want to just stay on this page? You want to do the total?
You can do the whole
Total.
thing.
All right, I make a motion to accept lines 4191.10-130 through 4619.99-940.
seconded.
We have a motion and a second to accept, and that's all the lines in the land use.
29.
Any discussion? I just had one question I didn't catch. The last one, the last line, Conservation Commission, they asked for 55? 65?
We have there.
Only changes, increase in secretary's salary, no raise in 5 years, and cost to mow the Salmon Run Conservation Area.
Chuck's gonna kill me.
Hey, that's your baby, honey.
Watch, Chuck. Okay, that was only a question.
Did you get that, Chuck?
Okay, so we have a motion and a second to accept the line items as stated for land use. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? So moved. Next one. We'll just go right at it, the whole thing? Look at it? We chopped the parking enforcement by $12,000. $12,480 last week.
Don't complain if you can't get parking downtown.
I'd like to reopen that for discussion. I wasn't here last week, but there are a couple of things that come to mind with me with that. Before we had that, we had real issues with real problems downtown. We had merchants who were taking all the spots by parking there all day as opposed to parking in the back, and nothing was being done about it. We had people who lived in the apartments upstairs parking in front of their buildings all day, and nothing was being done about it because there was not a police officer available to do that because they were all tied up doing other duties. We had people complaining that they couldn't come shopping in downtown Tilton because there was no place to park on Main Street. We had merchants complaining, and we saw some of this in the planning board when they would come in, because there was no place for them to park, for their customers to park on Main Street, and that people would come and park for 4 hours and no one would do anything about it. And I know, Eric, you heard some of that on the planning board, and I know, Sandy, you heard a lot of that on the planning board, to the point that we even put some more stringent things in our site plans for parking because of the issues that we had. And it seems to me to totally eliminate parking, a line item for parking enforcement downtown is to go backwards in terms of what our merchants are looking for and what our citizens are looking for as opposed to moving forward, are providing a space that encourages commerce downtown. It's just my personal feelings, and I wanted to share those.
And except that, I'm contrary to that though, because one is, well, the reason that they originally asked for that is because they didn't have a full complement of police officers. They now have a full complement of police officers. The second thing is that not only were parking enforcement officers enforcing parking, but so were the explorers. Explorers were walking around doing the job of the parking enforcement. So parking enforcement was not continuously doing that job. So I think, to me, I'd rather have the police officer doing a walk through the town, because they now have a full complement of officers on board, that a full badged officer that should be part of his or her patrol is doing the downtown area. Because the downtown area not only has seen an increase in parking issues, we've also had violent crime that would certainly at least warrant police presence through the main street. Because several armed robberies that have happened right in the Main Street area
Yeah.
that were not really caught. And I think that police presence is much better served by them doing the downtown area. And I think that would force them to come in and take a look at the downtown area, where they've kind of, at this point in time, ignored it. And that was the reason why I voted for this.
I have a question that this might be more directed towards Tim. Because I don't have 2012 in front of me. Do you have access to 2012?
I do.
Oh, do you?
2012 for what?
For the revenue that the parking enforcement brought in
Oh, the revenue.
versus what we spent?
We had that on a separate,
Was that,
That just came through.
that was on your pile of things.
Is on what?
well,
The
that's
pile of
just,
stuff that they gave us.
but I didn't think that was 2012.
Parking revenue, 3,000 for 2013.
And that includes permits?
That includes everything, right.
We sell permits? How does that work? Use a sticker?
Actually,
We sell a residential sticker for $15 for the year. So they have to put it on there. And then,
So is parking revenue, is that just from the permits, or is that from parking violations as well?
Both.
So we only had $1,500 last year for parking fines and parking violations, and we spent,
12,000.
we did not have,
we spent $3,000. We budgeted $12,000.
we did not have parking enforcement people to do last year, because both of the parking enforcement people left before the summer began.
Correct, but now,
We had one person come in, and he went to school in September, so we only utilized him for about a month, maybe less than a month.
but in 2012, we had we had enforcement. Do we have the revenue numbers at parking?
2012, we did not have a full force.
You had a police officer who was responsible for it. A patrolman, right?
No,
You didn't?
not in 2012, no.
Expenses. That's actually expenses. This 2012 budget.
well, my 2 cents on this discussion is, I think we would move forward more with the merchants on Main Street to keep their taxes as low as possible and to get a full-time police officer in the area.
No, didn't have it.
Then
And half what you.
Okay.
it's more spending on,
We didn't have parking enforcement in the line budget for 2012. so-
Right. It just started in 2013, the first year we had them.
I was going a different way.
They did not have we hired a person, and then that person left. We had a backup for that person, and was unable to commit to it.
But in 12, we did have some revenue associated with it,
Right.
about $2,900.
So it's not a big revenue generator.
But it's, it is also for the plowing in the middle of the night, too. It's been a lifesaver. saving, because before that, they were parking all over the place, and you couldn't park you could not plow the back parking lot at all. Now you can plow each night safely the municipal parking lots. It's not just about parking. It's also about cleaning up as well.
True that if we had a badged officer as part of his or her patrol doing that, as part of the normal routine.
You know, if you say we have a full complement of officers, yes. Right now, we have, on the roster, we have a full complement of officers, but are they on board now, ready to work? No. We have a few officers out, we have one in the military. We don't really have a full roster on paper, we have a full roster of police officers, but are they out there on patrol every day? No. We have one that's on medical, we have one that's out.
I think
Military, it's not a full roster.
one of the big things that came up is, and it's always been a bone of contention, is having the police department drive through Walmart and the outlet mall parking lots when they should be having their own security do that. And in the same amount of time that they can cruise around through there, walk through downtown and show a presence, that downtown merchants serve it.
This is like...
It's an area where you get armed robberies and crime.
I get that, but, and I've heard this over and over and over again. I've seen the cruisers at the outlet malls. I want you to know, the outlet mall pays a detail for cruisers at the outlet mall. They just don't drive in just for the sake of driving in. The outlet mall pays a detail for events over there, for the officers to be over there. So I want that to be known in the public, please, because I'm sick of hearing about them over at Tanger Outlet.
For special events.
And I'm not disagreeing with that.
We get $65 an hour for an officer over there.
But I'm talking about other than special events, and we probably don't need to beat this too much.
No. But again, to see a cruiser coming through the main street or having an officer walking through the main street, I see a cruiser on Chestnut Street more than I see one down on downtown. And I think that the downtown, if we want to show the merchants that they're just as important as the folks up above, having an officer do a patrol certainly is not out of the way to do that, either in the cruiser or just getting out and walking and checking tires.
I don't see them checking tires, but I see more cruisers downtown than I ever see at Walmart or the mall. I see cruisers downtown all the time.
And
All the
we're
time.
also discussing how the chief is going to deploy his people, and I have full confidence that the chief will work around not having the parking enforcement officer and deploy his people in the proper manner, and it just seems like a very good opportunity to find some savings. And I think the landlords of our merchants not getting just a little bit less in taxes will help them.
None of them live in Tilton anyway.
Well, be it as it may, if you want to move forward, we have to start moving forward on how are we going to save money? How are we going to save money for the taxpayers? How are we going to save money for the landlords? How are we going to save money for the merchants and the residents? And every time we have an opportunity to save money, well, this is the reason why we don't. This is the reason why we don't. 5% increase here, 7% increase here, $84,000 extra in IT, more. And I get it. It's easy to say yes. Yes is the easiest answer. No is the toughest answer.
I'm very good at saying no, believe me, sweetie.
Yeah.
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion that we accept the budget, the selectmen's recommended budget from $4,210.10 to 130, all the way down to, this is going to be complicated, but we'll get around it, 421040, 130, and accept the Budget Committee's recommendation of minus $12,480 for line item 4210.50130, and then and then follow the recommendations of the selectmen's budget from, let's see, so I don't get lost here, 421040140 to 429099558. Last item.
Like the emergency
Makes sense.
management, yeah.
Good job. So it's,
The only exception would be the amendment that we voted on last week.
which is the
Parking
enforcement.
enforcement,
Park
yeah.
enforcement.
So we have a motion as Wayne stated. Do we have a second?
I'll second it.
And we have a second. Do we have any discussion on that?
The only discussion I would have is for Joanna when she's trying to write the minutes, that Wayne just said everything that we had on the police department except for the line item 4210.50-130 that was adjusted previously. Correct?
Yeah.
Correct.
Just to help out. Because I couldn't follow it, I had it in front of me.
So are we voting, so is,
We have a motion and a second on everything.
but does that motion include the discussion and changing of that line item if we say no or yay? Or does that exempt it from,
If we say yay,
That
it
line
means
stays the same.
that line,
Talking about everything but
Comes
that
out.
line item.
so you're exempting that line item from discussion of this motion? Am I correct?
Yes, he made a motion for the lines above it.
Yep.
And the lines below it. He didn't include that in the motion.
Okay, so it's exempt. Just for clarification.
And,
Just for clarification.
Discussion, any more discussion? I do have a little bit of discussion here. I'm looking at gasoline and diesel line. We've purchased vehicles now that are much more gas efficient and economy vehicles. The price of gasoline is gone down substantially over the years, dating back to 2000, I think it's like 2010. But yet we're spending more on gas.
And be careful, you want them to go out and do parking enforcement now.
Bicycles,
you know.
basement full of bicycles.
We'll have to go out and buy bicycles now,
No.
so come on.
My question is if we have better, cheaper gas and fuel prices, we have better economy cars, why are our prices going up substantially for fuel?
First assumption about the cheaper prices, this may not be totally true, is we're buying through the co-op through the Winterscorn School District.
exactly.
Their prices have gone up over the last 3 years.
Well,
I've
I
got
can
the
tell you
state
what it
figures.
is. Our contract price right now is, including the surcharge, is $3.179, 3.179. That's what
Wasn't-
we're purchasing gas at.
Wasn't there some issue with the meter over there or something like that, or we weren't charged? Is that,
There was a problem with the meter, and the UST board decided it was difficult to determine how that was going to be made up, so they looked at I believe they looked at the usage and attributed a percentage to each of the member communities, and we ended up paying, I believe it was about $4,400 of that, which was charged to the PD line. The majority of that was PD gas.
was that in 2013?
Yes,
So that 4,400 is included in that $35,000?
correct.
So in reality, we were actually a little under budget. Less that,
Right.
okay.
I think we might also have a scenario where, I think it was
You hear that,
John.
John?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I think there's also a scenario where John last week was asking why overtime would get increased even though we're increasing the number of officers. Do you think, Pat, that it's possible that the fact that we have more officers will actually cost us more fuel?
More cars.
In somewhat,
Yeah.
in somewhat, that statement is true. The more patrol they do, the more court cases they have, the more court cases they have, the more overtime they have, because they have to come off shift to go to court. And that off-shift contractually, they get overtime. And that's the main crux of a lot of the overtime.
But I don't, do you think that same type of formula or something similar like, would keep gas usage up? More vehicles, more officers?
I think that the explanation of that UST
Yeah.
was a big chunk of the monies last year that we had to pay out for the gasoline out of that line.
I have another question, if I can.
I don't know, it's John's the chair.
Yeah, go ahead.
Don't look at me.
Sorry, I don't know where to look. On the police department life and disability, we spent $19,000 last year.
Yep.
We were about 40% over budget, and yet we almost flatlined that item. Is that something that is going to be over budget again this year, or is that going to come down?
I can defer that to you.
Which number?
242?
It's a personnel matter. I would say that it will either flatline or come down.
If it flatlines, then we're still going to be over budget.
Is that a contract item?
Budgeted flatline,
Okay.
she's referring.
No, Jane, it's not.
Okay.
But life and disability is what it is, disability.
Oh,
It's
I got you.
unpredictable.
Yep.
Police liability, there's no recommendation on that?
That's now fully paid for out of the administrative liability line. That was moved last year.
Let's see, we had a motion.
Yeah, but
To
I
accept
just got a
everything but that
question.
one line. That
Yeah,
was the
but
motion.
the intoximeter? What's that 600? Does it cost to run it, or?
They have to,
Vehicles and
they have to,
calibration.
calibration of
Calibrate
it and maintain it, yep,
All right,
Supplies.
and supplies,
all right.
tips.
Nobody got oximetered last year?
1, 2, 4.
Well, you buy the supplies ahead, too.
Grant expenses. So we put in, 7,000, what was our return on grants for that $7,000? Which, do you know what the return of grants that we got?
29,000.
29 something.
29,950.
Is that,
We were budgeted 10,500.
that doesn't include the value of vehicle, does it?
No.
That would be
In-
on top
in-
of that.
In the grant, you mean?
Yeah, well, in the grant expenses, and the grants received,
It-
total amount
What-
value of grants.
Some of it depends, like if it's click it or ticket, it includes the cost of the vehicle, correct? Per hour?
It
Some do
depends.
and some don't.
Some do, some don't.
Right.
So.
Some do, some don't.
Net return on that specifically, because there were other grants that were given that didn't require grant expense,
Correct.
but we're getting a good ratio return on that.
We are.
And we're raising it up to 10,000.
But legal.
Why is it going up to 10?
The chief has a schedule of anticipated programs they're going to take advantage of this coming year. I don't happen to have that in front of me, but he does have a listing of what that incorporates. And there's usually several highway-type click it or ticket, DOE checkpoint, seatbelt,
Seatbelt,
I forget.
couple of checkpoints.
Right.
Ryan usually takes care of those.
Yeah.
Anybody else?
Did you
So
say
we have a
legal?
motion and a second to accept all the lines as Wayne stated, which in his statement omitted the parking enforcement line. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Oppose? So moved. Getting there. Let's see. Wanna keep going?
We still have did Jane's motion to discuss that, or the parking enforcement, did that get closed out? Did you have some? Or was it just
I
a
didn't make a
discussion?
motion, it was discussion.
Under Public Works, sir.
Why don't we just go on with
You guys want it?
Yeah.
Marathon it?
it? Yeah.
Yeah,
Anything else?
I don't think
for
I
that?
have notes really for anything after
used to
this
that.
one.
I'm used to it. I'm not,
Okay, so we're...
doesn't change my pay any.
Public
40% or
Works.
nothing is still nothing.
Director Salmi, good.
I threaten him all the time. All right, I make a motion to accept Public Works 4311.10-130 through 4324.99-867.
Good job, James. Seconded.
Aye,
We have a motion and a second to accept
and a vote.
all of those. Any discussion on that? Mr. asked, we're budgeting for the solid waste. How did that work out? Even though
Wait a minute,
we're cutting back on...
Wait a minute, I got it.
Disposal?
Equipment. What, Tim?
Equipment purchase.
Purchases is zero.
We should have
We should probably have
$1.
that at 1.
Yeah.
Because we will be buying.
Would you like to make an amendment to include her, Jane's motion, but also to include a change to that line item of $1?
Yes, so moved.
And you want to second that?
I will second.
Okay, and we're going to vote.
I'm making an amendment to Jane's motion to add $1 to line item 4311-99-660.
Discussion on the
And have it
amendment.
back in there.
Okay, we're going to vote on the amendment to add $1 to line item as stated. All those in favor of adding $1 to that line item?
Aye.
Opposed? So moved. Go back at the main motion that James stated to accept
Should we
all
make it,
those. Did you include his salary in that one?
should we have one for advertising?
No, you did.
No,
No, we skipped it,
Comes
didn't
out
we?
of,
Did we skip it? I think so.
Yeah, don't tell the crew.
No, it's just
we put it
that.
in a...
No, it's the first three, like if you miss those first three.
No, it's just
Other-
Dennis. I give him a hard time.
For road construction.
I was looking at, originally, we used to budget
I
the
just wanna show you
sanitation
all-
disposal
moving
as
zeros.
one line item, and then we broke it out into two items to commercial and residential.
Correct. The theory behind that was that the commercial is being paid for by the commercial haulers. So Therefore,
Going back.
as we're recycling and people are looking for, well, what are we saving? What is our recycling cost? And what are we saving from that? By having it split out, it helps to show, what we're anticipating. For full year 2012, our tipping fees for residential recycling were about $87,000.
Oh, it's 30.
We're running... We were running like around 310, 290, so right around 300,000 for a few years, and then we split it out. Okay, any other?
A little bit less than
Maybe
that
so
now.
everybody knew why it changed.
Yeah.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed? So moved.
Mr. Chairman, I make a recommendation that we accept the selectmen's recommendation for budget for Health and Human Services, line item 4411.10130 to 4445.10-920.
I second that.
Okay, so we have a motion and a second to accept all the lines as Wayne stated. Under Health and Human Services, all those are included in that motion. And we have a second from Jane. Any discussion? Well,
I have a question. Wasn't chat a state program
No.
that just didn't get funded?
No, it's Caring Hands Assistant Tilton. It's a volunteer group in the town of Tilton of 23 people that assist the seniors in different chores,
I must be
doctors.
thinking of something else then. It was just one of those questions, should we put $1 there? And I'm not really sure if it, I guess not.
No,
next question I have is, I realize we're mandated to pay, or to have the welfare general assistance line. We put $50,000 in that. Like, over the history, even in the worst times, we've been paying out like 26,000.
and I actually believe where you're going, and 3 months ago, sitting here, and if we had this conversation, I would be right on board with you. But in the last 3 months, it's almost scary what's happening out there as far as our welfare. I mean, people are driving people into Tilton and dropping them off and then expecting the town to pick them up in droves. Droves. Not one, in droves. They're dropping them off at local hotels, and they're picking up the phone and saying, we're expected to pick up the tab. So we have our low-income house up here that's picking up more and more and more. In the last 6 to 8 weeks, Heather has been inundated with calls, and it's been for assistance. So I don't know if this year would be, if I had this conversation about 3 months ago, I would almost be tempted to say, let's take a chance and do it and lower it. But I wouldn't want to take the chance and lower it, only because there's just such an influx right now, and it's kind of like this secret push by Genesis to get them all into
And that's
Oh,
Tilton.
exactly what I was going to
Like
say.
some-
And we talked about that at school
What
tonight.
causes that? I mean, is there like,
It's amazing.
Is it because we spend a lot on welfare? And
We spend
We
very
don't
little on
spend-
Is
welfare.
that what it is?
We don't
Almost
spend a lot.
nothing.
Yeah.
We budget to be prepared for the worst.
If you look at the last 10 years or so, and I mean, she's extremely tough, and only go by
Check with
certain,
every other town, and
I mean-
knows everybody, and all the
Let me put
meetings.
it this way, our
Just a little
budget
sidebar, we
for-
came back from the school board, from the school budget committee. In the last month, they've had 19 additions to their special ed population from the Tilton Northfield area, and have only lost 4. So they've had a net gain of 15 new special ed students in the last 2 months.
it's, without getting into details, because it's a very sensitive situation, and it's very private and confidential, but the numbers that are coming in and making appointments, and the stories that we're hearing from Heather, and I have a meeting next week with the State Department on a couple issues with seniors, and it's very scary what's happening out there. The increase over the last 2 months, in the last 2 months, has increased, almost tripled her activity in the fall.
I have enough faith in her to know that,
Too, that we've had a abnormally cold winter.
but I have enough faith in her, and I think we've seen it over a number of years, that she is very tough, and that she will make use of every agency she can possibly make use of before she starts doling out funds. She doesn't dole out at all.
My question is not her competency at doing this. and
Yeah, I know,
you
I understand
She
that.
is great.
I know what you're saying, but
We're trying to save some money off this 4.9%. Can we at least go to Heather and say, take a look at it? Are you sure of that 50, or are you just, you know, because I have complete faith in her numbers, and I'd like to ask her again.
We can do
to,
that.
Say, can you cut 5,000 off it?
We can do that.
We can do that.
I'll be,
No, or
I'll be glad to
anything.
bring it
Ask
back
for
to her.
And anybody else in any of the departments, say, is there anywhere we can,
I'll be glad to give her a call tomorrow and ask her if
I
it's,
trust her judgment.
and see if we can do that.
You know, the towns
I mean,
can help too. So,
she has
taxpayers.
the first-hand knowledge, so that would be, I'll get back to you.
That was it, sir, the interruption. So did we have a motion
Second.
and a second, for those lines?
You know, I almost kind of wish that we would do the selectmen's budget before we do outside agencies, and then you get a clearer picture, particularly for the new people, that what we have to go through in order to run the town, and what it takes to run the town. Then perhaps maybe we won't be so generous giving the outside agencies, you know, thousands and thousands of dollars.
Yeah,
I agree.
I can tell you that, next week, if there's any tweaking, I'd like to have everybody that voted on things present, and if we change anything. But even after the town meeting this year, there'll probably be a good amount of comments.
Did I read that email right, that Genesis wanted to be present at town meeting?
Public hearing. So we have a motion.
Oh, public hearing.
All those in favor of the recommended amounts that the selectmen have put in there?
Aye.
Say aye.
I,
Opposed? So moved. Culture, recreation.
Mr. Chairman, I would,
I'd like to make a recommendation on that. Oh,
Yeah, well,
When the Hall Memorial Library sent in their information for their annual report, this is from Jenna Moulton, she's the library trustee. She says, "Dear Joyce, attached, please find the written report, trust fund report, and 2013 final expenses for this year's town report. Also, if you could please let the selectmen know, the trustees of the Hall Memorial Library voted to reduce the budget request previously submitted to the town of Tilton by $2,500. This would reduce our overall requested appropriation from $122,200 to $119,700. The trustees voted to make the same reduction in our request to Northfield. Please let me know if you have any questions, and I forwarded this to everybody."
does anybody want to bring a motion to
so moved.
that line?
So moved, Mr. Chairman.
Yes, we have a motion to
Second.
amend the Hall Memorial Library line 455-099-932 to 119,700?
Yep.
To 119,700. Previously, we had voted on that, but we changed that. So we have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Thanks, guys. All those in favor, say aye.
I,
Opposed? So moved.
Mr. Chairman, I would now make a motion that we accept the selectmen's recommended budget for items 4323.99860 to 4197.99840 Lakes Region Planning. Items according to there.
Wait a minute.
wait a minute, why-
I left the page.
Oh, I'm sorry, I got the outside agent. Excuse me, my apologies.
Yep.
Let me restate my motion. I'm getting too far ahead. I would like to make a motion that we accept the selectmen's recommended budget for line items 4323.99860 to 4589.99938.
I have a,
Second.
I'll second it for discussion. I just think Wayne said it improperly. because you said selectmen's and we adjusted the Hall Memorial.
So you want to amend that?
Take your second back for a second.
I'll take my second
We're going to
back.
start fresh.
And I'm going to start with a motion that we accept the Selectmen's recommended budget for items 4323.96860 to 4520.99.45, and items 4589.99934 to 4589.99938, and the amended line item for 4550.99932 for Hall Memorial Library.
I'll second that.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion?
Yes,
Yes. I'll defer.
the age or beauty.
It was, I didn't say anything.
No, I know, I asked him the age
We'll go
or beauty.
alphabetical, by last name.
Good move. Yeah, I would like to ask why the Parks Commission expenses are what they are. I don't understand that. I mean, they've got to, what are they spending that money on? Can you address that, Pat?
Did they come before you?
I thought we
They're
had
not,
requested that
we're not
they-
in charge of the
I don't
Parks
think they
Commission.
did,
They're
did they?
totally
I
separate.
thought we
Would you like to call them in
needed,
for
I would
next?
like to call them in for next week, yeah, because I really would like to know what this amount of money is.
We're not in charge of
I thought
the,
last year we put 5,000 in as a one-time thing for fixing up maybe the skating park or something, or
Rails,
the rails.
and
Yeah.
they did do the rails.
Oh, and that was added into that number? So maybe that could
That's
be...
what I thought. and
I got the Parks
No, I
budget. Do you
just-
have the Parks budget?
No, we don't have anything with the park. I mean, there's a skating rink out there that we poured all kinds of money into,
You don't have this at
and
all?
it's not operational. They bought a zero-turn lawnmower that sat out in the yard, sat outside all year. They spent $4,000 on that. They just spent a lot of money to level the ballpark. I think there are a lot of residents outside of the Tilton area that use that ballpark. Do those towns pay to maintain it the way we pay? I mean, I don't know, I've got questions about those things.
And
They
the other
never
thing-
reinstituted the summer fair that they were supposed to reinstitute, that they got money from the Main Street program to do.
Okay, let's see
Did
if
they,
we-
do we know that they got money from the Main Street program?
I'm unaware of anything.
Let's see if we can get together a
I don't
list
think they did.
and send it over to Bob and ask for his presence at next Wednesday, and we'll put him first on the
Agenda?
agenda.
I would
Or
say,
after minutes.
I think Eric, you had something to say before.
Ditto.
And the other question I had is, there's a Parks revolving fund.
There's no money in the actual revolving fund that was set up, I think it was 2 years ago. There is a capital reserve fund for the Parks Commission, and that now has $29,000 in it. We put $5,000 in it this last year from their operating budget.
Was any money expended out of the revolving?
Oh, yeah, last year.
There was.
And that fund was from fees and everything. Could we get
No,
it?
it's not from fees.
Uh-uh.
The only monies that have gone into that fund have either been
Rental?
through, no, there's no rental.
Town warrant articles.
The revolving fund was set up to be able to collect advertising fees or other types of fees that they might have from, say, a fence at the ball field. But, and that fund exists, but there's never been any revenue generated to put into it. The capital reserve fund, however, the monies that have gone into that have either been as a result of a warrant article dating back in the 2005-2006 timeframe. We were putting in either $10,000 or $20,000 back then. And then, since then, I believe in the last 2 years, there's been a warrant article to put in the remainder of the operating budget, so $5,000 from last year, and I forget what it was the year prior to that.
non-lapsing.
Non-lapsing, right.
Unexpended appropriation.
Yep.
Can we look up the wording of that detail? I mean,
Thank you.
the revolving account, because if I remember correctly, it says the fees collected from the rental of
The revolving fund, but there's two funds. There's no money in the revolving fund.
But shouldn't there be some money in it? If it
Thank you.
was,
They have not had any...
The recreation fund, you mean?
no, I'm talking specifically about the revolving fund, and the wording of that when we created it was as a catch-all for the fees.
For the fees, right.
use
That's
of
right.
The park and all
Yep.
that.
Yeah, there have been no revenues generated as a result of fees.
Right.
We've never rented out the pavilion.
We take deposits on it, and the deposits are returned, but there have never been any fees that have been collected.
And no fees that are collected. Let's say if we don't charge a fee or anything to the football leagues or anything for use of the fields.
my knowledge,
or light fees or...
There's been no revenue generated as a result of fees through the Parks Commission. The fund is there when they do start to generate revenues, but there haven't been any to date.
That might be a...
Who uses the 132 ball field?
That'd be a question for the Park Commissioners.
No one here knows.
Doesn't Friends of West Point Football use it?
There's several.
Okay.
It's not just Friends of Winnisquam.
Okay.
Tilton Northfield Little League has used
Right.
the fields over there in the past.
There's a few.
I'm sure there's other organizations.
Okay.
But you're better to ask them because they have a list of them.
We'll get together, everybody think of the questions and we'll...
Mr. Chairman, I formally make a motion that we table this motion until our next scheduled meeting,
Okay.
which is, which are you...
Well, can we vote on every other one,
In the parks,
except the parks?
Parks and Recreation?
Sure.
Okay, I can live with
You
that.
didn't finish it, so you can still...
Yeah, Pat did very good. I would make a motion that we
How about,
table,
how about I rescind the second of your original motion? You
Okay.
could rescind your original motion, and then that whole line
Yeah.
is empty.
therefore, I would then make a motion that we accept the selectmen's recommended budget for items 432399860, 4520.99.450, 458999934, 458999936, 458999938, and the amended amount for line item 4550.992932 for Hall Memorial Library.
Okay, we can do that.
I would second it, but I'm not sure I followed along enough to be sure he got it right.
Followed you, I'll
I
second.
think you got it right.
I was trying.
Okay, motion second, any discussion? In favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? So moved.
Hey, did we get through it?
We're make a
No, we got the
motion
outside
to
agencies. Oh, those are
table
over.
line, the park commission.
I'll make a motion to table the Park Commission line item 4520.99-932
Until
until our next meeting.
our next meeting. Motion and second to table the Parks Commission expenses till the next meeting. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? So moved. Outside agencies.
Are we all done?
Oh, looks like
You
the
wanna-
last page.
Do you want to hold off on this until we get answers
Yeah,
on
that's right, we'll go.
community action? And then,
Community
I
action
think
did
we got-
pass, sorry.
We will, oh,
It
did?
will be amended in the minutes. Yep.
And the other thing.
Tim
we
is
have
quick with
um,
verifying
pass.
online.
I had my earbuds. I checked it.
it passed?
It did pass.
Yeah,
Was it?
What was the amount? Was it 25?
it was 2,500.
25.
There was 3 in favor, 1 no, 1 abstain, and 1 non-voting.
Declined, I think was what the words were that were used.
Declined.
I'd like to, can I revisit?
Three,
I'm sorry.
what was it again? It was,
3 in favor, 1 no, 1 abstain, and one
Decline to
non-vote.
vote.
And that was for the 2,500.
Yeah.
So that was on line,
If you care to listen to it, it's an hour and 16 minutes into the meeting.
why don't we do that? We'll make sure everybody's all set for that, and we'll vote, we'll amend the minutes and that. So it's an hour and 16 minutes in. Make sure everybody's really clear on that, and then next week we'll put that on the agenda to do an amendment to that.
That was the 8th.
Yep.
That's all, everything else is done, right?
Yeah, but I'd like to revisit this because Wayne convinced me that that's a good move. Well, no, because you're so present downtown.
I would almost want to motion to adjourn the meeting because I was thinking that, didn't you mention earlier with everybody here, maybe we could go over different items of our
We'll look at all the final
official
numbers.
one, we'll official this, you can,
Look at that item.
so I'll motion to adjourn for the evening.
I'll second it.
Gallery questions over here.
Yeah, we can,
Quickly, I looked up, it's the 2009 town meeting. It says to see if the town will vote to establish a recreation revolving fund pursuant to RSA 35:B2, paragraph 2. All money received from fees and charges for recreation park services and facilities, i.e. rentals, contributions, gifts, donations, etc., shall be deposited in said fund and allowed to accumulate from year to year, da-da-da-da-da-da.
we're gonna make sure that that's going in there, and it's a shame to maintain an account that doesn't do anything.
Yeah.
If we can put it in there and spend it on,
Well, I don't understand why they don't charge for like the...
Yeah, we just haven't had any.
Yeah,
Like it's
they haven't charged
Like the
anything,
seniors.
you know.
There hasn't been anything, yeah.
I've seen weddings at the park.
What?
Seen weddings over here. Don't we charge for that?
That's the
you want
island.
to adjourn?
No,
And
just the
then,
security.
I've seen weddings over here too.
We have a motion and a second to adjourn. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Yeah, I agree. $10 user fee.
Why isn't the island part
I
of the
listened
parks?
to it early. No,
Why is the island a separate line item?
Because we own it with North Haven.
Is that it?
Yeah. I don't understand. See, for the parks,
I am a lost cause.
Glutton for punishment.
I even have a little light with me.
Did you get the
I was
copy?
bothering
Sadistic.
Joanna with it earlier.
I did.
lights do you need on us?
I know. Well,
Lord.
it's like in the dark over here.
No, I'm going
You
to
like
put in...
it too much.
Like, all right.
Anybody shut the camera off? You know?
Oh, is it still?
Oh, I have,
Elected.
What time is your meeting?
Don't want Jefferson to get in trouble.
Oh, I have those made out.